Testing.
Good afternoon and welcome to this Government of Anguilla Press Conference. I will ask the Honorable Cardigan Connor to open us up with a word of prayer.
Even though he would be on the other side of the table, is not with us today in body, but is in spirit. We pray that his family, his friends, that you look after them, that you give them a sound mind, you ease the pain that they're going through. But not just for him, Father, but for all those who have lost loved ones over the last week or two. This we ask in your precious name. Amen.
Thank you, Honorable Connor. There's a perfect segue to start off by extending our deepest and heartfelt condolences to those persons who would have lost loved ones in recent times. The family, friends, and loved ones of Mr. Romez Webster and of Mr. Carlton Pickering. And I wish to give this statement on behalf of the Government of Anguilla in relation to Mr. Pickering. The Government of Anguilla joins the nation in mourning the passing of Mr. Carlton Pickering of KCN TV, a true pillar of our media landscape and a steadfast guardian of the public's right to know. For 2 generations, Mr. Pickering stood at the forefront of local broadcasting, shaping the voice of the press with integrity, courage, and unwavering commitment. He was never one to shy away from the difficult questions. Instead, he embraced them, holding administrations to account and ensuring that the concerns of the Anguillan people were heard, respected, and addressed. His work was more than journalism. It was public service. Through his dedication, he strengthened our democracy, elevated our national dialogue, and inspired a standard of excellence for those who follow in his path. Today, we honor not only a broadcaster, but a champion of truth and transparency. Mr. Pickering's legacy will endure in the values he upheld and the generations he influenced. We extend our deepest condolences to his family, friends, and the entire Anguillan community. May his contributions never be forgotten, and may his example continue to guide the future of the press in Anguilla and the region. Thank you. If I can now ask for us to have a moment of silence for Mr. Pickering. Thank you. So I will start off by providing a financial performance overview. For January and February of 2026, the government of Anguilla would have recorded revenue in the amount of $120 million. It was projected at 99 million, so we've exceeded projections. The .ai is 30% of January and February revenue, and if sustained, the .ai domain name could surpass $300 million this year. As a result, there is no need to dip into the reserves. Many persons would recall that in our 2026 budget, we would have estimated a $73 million deficit. But as a result of the strong revenue performance, there is no need to dip into the reserves for the year 2026 to the same extent, if at all. And current reserves stand at $298 million. On the last occasion that we would have appeared before the House of Assembly and during the previous government press conference, we would have identified the relief package that we have rolled out to the people. And I just want to, again, reiterate, set it out so that persons who have questions can understand and appreciate the extent of the relief package that this government of Anguilla has set out for the people of Anguilla. At INLEC, we have seen an increase in the fuel surcharge to 88 cents based on an announcement that was released. Prior to that release, the government of Anguilla would have announced that the government is absorbing any difference in cost between the 42 cents per kilowatt hour for homes and businesses and 65 cents for the accommodation sector, hotel, villas, guest houses, for a period of 2 months. And so what that means is that whether or not the price increases beyond the 88 cents and higher, the government will absorb that cost so that for homes and businesses, the amount remains at 42 cents, and for the accommodation sector, 65 cents per kilowatt hour. This is at a total cost to the government of Anguilla of EC $6 million. We also temporarily suspended import duty for fuel and customs service fee on gasoline and diesel imports for 3 months, and that is at a cost of $1.5 million. We've also, in the last House of Assembly, took to the House the legislation necessary to amend the Customs Act to provide for calculation of customs duties not based on cost, insurance, and freight as normal, but to base it on free on board. And so that legislation was taken to the House of Assembly during the last occasion and was passed. What this means is that during a period of 3 months, duties will only be charged on the cost of goods and not including insurance or freight. And that is at a cost to the government of Anguilla of $2.4 million. And so the total package cost for the next 3 months in terms of fees absorbed or waived by the government of Anguilla totals 10 million EC dollars. Tomorrow, we will have another session of the House of Assembly, and it is at that time that I will present the opening address and the legislative agenda, tomorrow being the new session of the beginning of the new session of the House of Assembly. And so that is it for my updates, and I will ask the Honorable Joseph Vanterpool to give us his report. Thank you.
Thank you, Premier. Good afternoon, all. Good afternoon to the media in the room, as well as to all Anguillians listening via the various means. This afternoon, it's my pleasure to bring a report on behalf of the Ministry of Infrastructure, Communications, Utilities, Housing, IT, and E-Government Services. I'd like to begin by reporting on some recent travel that would have taken place. An official government of Angola delegation conducted a highly productive visit to Bermuda from April 8th to 10th, 2026, aimed primarily at advancing air service agreements with Bermuda Air for the upcoming winter season. The delegation was comprised of myself, the Honorable Minister of Tourism, Mr. Cardigan Connor, Principal Assistant Secretary within the Ministry of MICU, Mr. Kendall Richardson, along with the Executive Manager of the airport, Mr. Jabari Harrigan. The discussions reaffirmed mutual commitment to maintaining and expanding air connectivity, including the exploration of new markets, with strong confidence that enhanced services will materialize once a few technical matters are concluded. These improved air links are expected to strengthen tourism performance, increase visitor arrivals, and generate broader economic benefits for Anguilla through increased spending, employment, and airport-related revenues. As we traveled to Bermuda, we would have stopped at the Boston Logan International Airport. At this time, our airport manager, Jabari Harrigan, was able to meet with the head of operations at the Logan International Airport, where he had a tour of their facilities, was able to compare airport operations, view security, as well as logistics to see how we can compare and improve what it is we do here in Anguilla. Shortly after arriving to Bermuda, I would have participated in a radio interview along with the Minister of Housing, the head of the Bermuda Housing Corporation, as well as a member of the opposition along with the radio host, where we would have discussed, among other things, not only housing within the region, but similarities between the overseas territories. And it turns out there are a lot of ties culturally and historically between Bermuda and the people of Anguilla. Following the radio interview, we would have had a brief meeting in the evening with members of the Bermuda Air team, as well as the Junior Minister of Finance. The next morning, we would have kicked off the day with a meeting, myself, the PAS for Michael, Mr. Kendall Richardson, along with the Honorable Mr. Thomas Famous, the head of the Bermuda Housing Corporation, where we would have discussed Bermuda's housing schemes, how they go about affording affordable housing, and seeing that Bermuda has afforded housing via public means since the 1980s, they have a lot of lessons learned and structural advice that they could have given us in terms of what we should do, what we should look out for, and how to pave the way forward. Honorable Mr. Famous also would have connected us with key persons within the ministry and within the Housing Corporation so we can go and kickstart the process of creating Anguilla's housing policy. Following this meeting, we would have met with some telecoms providers within Bermuda who would have already been engaged with speaking to our Public Utilities Commission in terms of seeing what the market in Anguilla has to offer, and who would have demonstrated some of the new technologies that they have available and express how they are able to support the people of Bermuda in various instances. Following this meeting, we would have met with the Bermuda Air team to discuss the performance of the airline and the existing routes. And I'm happy to report that not only are they performing very well, in fact, they would have said maybe they stopped them too soon, because the last flight from Baltimore and Newark would have came into Anguilla last week, with the last flight for Boston expected for this season, expected to come into Anguilla on April 25th. And even as we approach the end of the season, all of the Boston flights are fully booked. So there is definitely scope for expanding the season beyond April for future seasons. As it relates to the specifics and announcements of the particulars that will come in time to come, I wouldn't want to do that too prematurely. Following the discussions with Bermuda Air, we were able to visit the Minister of Home Affairs, who was acting for the Minister of Transport. Her portfolio also includes energy. So we would have had a widespread discussions as it relates to what's going on globally and within the region as it relates to utilities. They also have a single supplier of electricity, but unlike governments, they don't have as much of control, which poses some challenges for them. So we're having ongoing discussions so that we can learn from each other and chart the way forward. But it also highlighted that as British overseas territories, there are a lot we have in common and similarities that we can have in strengthening those relations. So one of the things that we aim to do going forward, particularly within the ministry as we continue route development, is to be able to connect, have Angola be that hub that is the connecting link throughout all of the overseas territories. Following this meeting, we were able to examine the government administration building. As persons would know, we're looking to push forward with Angola's government administration building, so we were able to use the time there to be able to see how their operations go, how they outline their ministries, and what synergies they had there. So all in all, I must say that while it was only 2 days, it was a very packed 2 days and a very productive 2 days. And we're very grateful to all of the persons in Bermuda who would have received us, welcomed us, and been keen to share information with us. Moving on to the airport update. The airport package that is the terminal building and the apron, phase 2, the overall status is that the project remains on schedule. Expected completion date for the project remains at 18th June 2026. The apron expansion is about 60% complete. The airport exit road construction is about 85% complete. The storm pipes and manholes are due to be completed by the 6th of May 2026. The parking lot and exit roadway is expected to be completed at 20th May 2026. The signs, line painting, and landscaping is due to be completed on 27th May 2026, and the electrical street lights completion is due to be completed on 27th May 2026. As it relates to ANGLEC and the Caribbean Development Bank have officially agreed to the terms of reference, and as of the 1st of April 2026, they would have officially signed the contract engaging for the transition towards renewable energy. The next step is to establish the project management unit, the process for which has already begun. ANGLEC has already engaged a regional procurement specialist, and the positions for members of the project management unit have already been advertised regionally. The designs for the solar plant are largely complete and will be soon finalized. The newly appointed CEO will be on island shortly for familiarization, as well as to meet the team at ANGLEC. As it relates to AI and the .ai performance, the Premier would have just given a financial update and would have mentioned that if this strong revenue performance continues, .ai could potentially bring in over $300 million for the year. This warms my heart as I remember standing in the House of Assembly and expressing that this .ai asset has the potential to bring in over $500 million, as well as lead Angola to a $1 billion economy. The .ai performance continues to break records. As previously reported, February set a new record with domain revenues of $32 million. I am happy to report that not only does .ai continue to perform well, but March has set a new record of $39 million. We continue to support the growth of our domain, particularly with 2 upcoming events. This week, we'll be hosting the first AI conference in partnership with Identity Digital. This conference targets the registrars, that is, the persons who are responsible for actually selling the .ai domains. So the top registrars would all be on island this week, where they'll not only have chance to engage amongst each other, but have discussions with the government of Angola so that they can realize that as opposed to selling a .com or a .org domain where it's simply about profits, when they sell a .ai domain, it brings about real transformation for the people of Angola. So we look forward to establishing and strengthening partnerships directly between the people who sell the domain and us, the government of Angola, who represent the people who will benefit by the sales. The second conference will take place from June 21st to June 24th. This conference will be hosted in partnership between the Ministry of Infrastructure as well as the House of Assembly. And we will be hosting this partnership along with the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. This conference will bring together leaders from around the world and around the Commonwealth to discuss all things artificial intelligence and discuss what's the best way as leaders we can chart the way forward. And this brings me to the end of my update for today. I'll now pass on to the Honorable Parliamentary Secretary to give his update.
Sorry about that. Let's start over. This ministerial briefing provides an update on continued progress of key infrastructure initiatives being undertaken by the ministry. These efforts reflect the government's commitment to strengthening national development, improving public services, and enhancing resilience across Anguilla. As it relates to the road updates, South Hill to Jeremiah Gums Highway, the project completion remains for April 2026. Coordination with Anglec is ongoing with the relocation of the final utility pole at the South Hill Junction. As it relates to the Sandy Hill Road, the road is approximately 95% completed. The projection completion remains in April 2026. Valley Road, the road design works are under review. Ongoing coordination with utility providers regarding infrastructure alignment and designs. Stakeholder consultation with businesses are scheduled for the week of the 20th of April. Procurement documents is currently under review, and the drafting of specifications and scope of works is in progress. The ministry received procurement approval for the first phase of the government building accommodations. BCQS International will be leading the first phase, which involves consultation with various ministries to determine the needs of the government. This consultation process is anticipated to begin in 2 to 3 weeks' time. There will be more to report on this in the next briefing. There was an audit completed by Air Safety Support International, which was concluded on April the 3rd, 2026. This audit resulted in 3 level 2 findings, mostly related to documents. Findings also indicated the need to separate domestic and airport fire as the aviation sector continues to grow. The ministry did anticipate this, and therefore there was a budgetary allotment for this in the 2026 budget. As it relates to DITES update, International Communications Platform, SNAPCOMS, licenses procured, systems configurations underway. Initial target to go live is the 20th of April, 2026. We can now report that this was completed ahead of time. Core network upgrades phase 2, work plan is in the development phase, including onboarding schedule for the departments. The fiber link installed between the library and the hospital is currently underway. Final connections pending completion, which is expected this week. That is all under the Ministry of Infrastructure. As everyone knows, I spread across 2 ministries. So I'll now give you an update as it relates to natural resources. Agricultural advancements and genetic improvement, infrastructure expansions, and strategic partnerships. The Ministry of Natural Resources is pleased to provide a comprehensive update on several key initiatives aimed at modernizing Anguilla agricultural sector, enhancing food security, and supporting our local farmers. The ministry has officially commenced the rollout of the Genetic Improvement Program. This initiative is designed to improve the quality and productivity of our local livestock. Recent milestones include the breeding success and also the support and documentation that was done by the department. This program recently welcomed the birth of 2 lambs and 3 rams, making a positive start to the herd expansion efforts. The department is currently finalizing traceable records and farmer agreements to ensure that the program's long-term sustainability and transparency. To combat climate-related challenges and ensure year-round production, the ministry continues its strategic expansion of shade house technology. To date, 20 shade houses has been successfully erected across the island, 11 on Crown land and 9 on private lands. An additional 10 units have been ordered to meet growing demands. As it relates to the green space expansion, the ministry is enhancing its public agricultural space with new benches and planned gazebos to foster community engagement and to promote agricultural awareness. We will also be exploring the possibilities of creating a botanical garden in the same general location. As it relates to the fruit tree orchard expansion, as part of our commitment to expand crop production, the ministry has received a significant influx of new fruit trees for sale and for the national orchard. The new stock of fruit trees arrived with 360 citrus, comprising of lime, tangerine, and lemon, 200 mangoes, 200 avocado, 120 star fruit, and 20 breadfruit trees. Some of these fruit trees will be available for sale commencing at the Agriculture Expo, slated for May 8, 2026. Work is underway to redesign irrigation layouts to allow for easy maintenance, ensuring that the orchard efficiency and continues to expand, the expansion. The ministry, in collaboration with the University of Florida, remains a cornerstone of its capacity building efforts. A technical team from the university is scheduled to visit Anguilla during the week of April the 19th, and that's from Florida, the University of Florida. This visit will promote specialized livestock training for sheep and goat farmers, as well as support from a poultry specialist to improve local egg production on the island. Our team will also be on the island as it relates to pest management from the University of Florida also. We are currently making plans at the Department of Agriculture to, along with the ministry, for the upcoming AgroFest, which will be slated for the 8th of next month. And this is something that we are encouraging all families to come out and support and to see. It's going to be a showcase of the different crops that are grown there just above the old tourist boat building. So we are trying to demonstrate what could be grown locally and to really show how we can make an impact on our food security on the island. So it's just a day that we could come out and have fun and games and to really walk the grounds of agriculture and to see what is done within the department. The progress reported today from the Board of Improved Livestock to the arrival of hundreds of fruit trees demonstrate our ministry hands-on commitment to our farmers. We are not just providing resources, we are building a framework of science-based agriculture and modern infrastructure that will fuel Anguilla for generations to come. That's my update as it relates to agriculture. Now, Honorable.
Thank you, Parliamentary Secretary. Good afternoon. I wish to provide updates on water, also updates on fuel, and lastly, I'll close on an update from my trip to Nigeria. So I'll start with water and update you on the progress we are making in addressing Anguilla's water network. We have had the C900 pipe on island for several weeks. However, we delayed issuing the procurement notice for the Jeremiah Gomes Highway project to ensure that we properly consulted with ANGLIC. Those consultations have now taken place, and I am pleased to report that ANGLIC has expressed strong interest in participating in the project. Coordination is therefore ongoing regarding their inclusion. MICU will be responsible for installing the necessary ducts to ensure the proper integration of utilities, specifically ANGLIC and DITES. We received the final set of dimensions from ANGLIC on Friday, last week Friday that is, which now allows us to finalize the key elements of the design and complete the procurement documentation. All required documentation will be completed by tomorrow, and submitted to procurement for the April 14th deadline, which was set the last time we met. We will be looking to embark on a 2-week emergency procurement process to accelerate the start of works. In terms of rollout, the Jeremiah Road project will be the first to commence. This will be followed by the Quarter to Sandy Hill project, which represents a critical area in need of upgrade. Beyond these projects, we have identified 2 additional priority projects that we are actively preparing. These include replacing the transmission line from Crocus Bay and the introduction of a solar component to support water production. At this stage, we are focused on completing the necessary analysis and costing so that these projects are ready for implementation, providing that funds are available. I am also pleased to report that the new water building is currently under construction and progressing well. In addition, the storage building is advancing steadily. Both of these projects strengthen our operational capacity at the Department of Water Services. We remain committed to ensuring that the people of Anguilla see tangible progress in the water sector in this year 2026. An update on fuel. Consumers may have noticed recent increases at various fuel stations since January 2026, reflecting a combination of global and domestic market factors affecting fuel supply and distribution costs. According to industry data, the rise in pump prices is being driven primarily by higher crude oil costs, global supply constraints, and ongoing geopolitical and logistical challenges that continue to influence wholesale fuel prices, which ultimately impact retail pricing. While the government and wholesalers and retailers work to keep prices as competitive as possible, fluctuations in supply costs and operational expenses have resulted in unavoidable adjustments at the pump. For clarity, note the following policy decisions taken over time. 1, the removal of excise on gasoline. 2, the removal of import duty and customs service fee on gasoline and diesel. And 3, the continuation of the maximum price ceiling. Note that the measures to remove import duty and customs service fee above have been incorporated into the maximum price ceilings effective March 18, 2026. The excise removal has formed part of the calculation since 2022. The respective maximum price ceilings were last issued on March 27, 2026, with new invoices expected shortly. Delta stations, $15.49 EC per imperial gallon. This price may not fully reflect current costs due to a lack of invoices provided, but nevertheless, this is the current price per imperial gallon at Delta. The current price at SAL stations, $18.15 per imperial gallon. This price would be at $20.15 with duty and customs service fee if it was included. Anguilla gases, currently $15.74 per imperial gallon. This price would be $17.68 with duty and customs service fee. It is important to note that the maximum price ceilings are calculated based on current invoices and are subject to change as the invoices fluctuate. Given the global environment, the cost per gallon is expected to increase over the short to medium term. For additional context, landed cost per gallon of gasoline has gone from $7.72 EC in January to $17.49 EC in March. These costs without taxes, these reflect costs without taxes and respective markups. That increase from January to March reflects a 126% increase in landed cost per gallon. Further, the maximum price ceiling mechanism is designed primarily to regulate and cap allowable margins rather than to set a uniform retail price. The final maximum price is determined after accounting for applicable tax exemptions and approved margins, which are incorporated before the ceiling is established. So basically, the maximum price is subject to changes, whether up or down, but what the maximum price ceiling does is to control the profit that bulk importers are making. It is also important to note that 3 distinct maximum price ceilings are currently applied. This reflects the fact that the 3 bulk fuel importers source their supplies from different markets, each with varying cost structures and price arrangements. Implementing a single nationwide ceiling at this time would likely disadvantage some importers, while simultaneously increasing the risks of price signaling and potential collusion. On that note, the government remains committed to ensuring transparency and fairness in fuel pricing as we continue to monitor market conditions closely and adjust prices appropriately to minimize the impact on consumers. Note also that our consumption patterns, and I said our consumption patterns should change to mitigate some of the effects of rising costs. And motorists, including myself and the entire panel here, are encouraged to consider fuel-saving measures immediately. Update on Sunoco acquisition of Delta Petroleum, which is, Sunoco is the parent company of SAL. To date, we have not received any official correspondence regarding this acquisition. However, we are aware of informal discussions surrounding the matter, both locally and through engagement with some of our regional counterparts. We have been advised that formal communication is forthcoming, at which time we will be better positioned to review the details and provide a more comprehensive perspective. Some concerns have been raised regarding the potential impact of the acquisition on market competition, particularly with respect to Anguilla's position as a price taker, most notably in relation to fuel prices at the pump and the cost of electricity generation. These are important considerations that warrant careful evaluation. We will provide further information once official notice has been received and after meaningful discussions have taken place with the relevant representatives. Lastly, Anguilla was represented at the 2026 summit in Nigeria. It was an honor to represent Anguilla at the Afro-Caribbean Investment Summit 2026 in Abuja, Nigeria, where leaders, investors, and policy makers gathered to deepen collaboration with Africa and the Caribbean. I would have joined other regional leaders, including Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew and ministers of agriculture from across the OECS in discussions on advancing shared priorities. As a panelist on the Afro-Caribbean food sovereignty, I would have emphasized the need for stronger food systems through cooperation, innovation, and knowledge sharing, highlighting food security as a regional responsibility. Additionally, I traveled with the Chief Natural Resource Officer from the Department of Natural Resources, Ms. Carencia Rouse, and local farmer, Mr. Claude Smith, owner of Smith's Farm. We engaged with Nigeria's Minister of Agriculture, Senator Karai, and Somalia's Minister, Honorable Mohammed, and we discussed opening pathways for future collaboration. Beyond the panel, discussions explored Anguilla's investment potential, including agricultural cooperation with a representative from Guyana, and we even spoke with the creative industry, those folks from the Nollywood, which is the Hollywood version in Nigeria. So Anguilla's presence made a strong impression, reinforcing our territory's place in global discussions. We even had media engagements that provided an opportunity to highlight Anguilla's identity, global relevance, and position Anguilla as the home of .ai when I had a few interviews with the the local media. This mission advanced efforts to strengthen ties with Africa, expand trade and innovation, and build lasting relationships and partnerships for food security and economic growth in the future to come. Thank you. That is it for my updates, and we can pass it on to Honorable Shelia Rogers-Webster for her update.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hodge. Pleasant good evening to everyone listening via Facebook Live or via radio, and a pleasant good afternoon to the members of the media who are here. The Chief Probation Officer, Ms. Tashenta Brooks, has formally been appointed. She is a former Senior Probation Officer with the Department of Probation and is a certified probation officer who has worked in the UK for the last 4 years. She began her role as the Chief Probation Officer with the department on April 1st. I wish to congratulate Ms. Brooks and wish her all the best in her new role, and thank the former Chief Probation Officer for her leadership. As it relates to education, Project Inspire is now scheduled to roll out the rollout of computers for Campus B in April of 2026. So by the end of this month, it should be complete. This will conclude the rollout of this transformative project, which started in March of 2020 and continued under our administration. The project will conclude with a final ceremony and cocktail event. The details are currently being finalized for that event. Support for the department's School Safety and Security Advisory Committee has been funded by UNICEF. The initiative aims to strengthen school safety and security in Anguilla through a targeted study tour of St. Martin. The study tour occurred on the 16th to the 21st of March, and there was a report as a result of that study tour, and some of those things will be implemented in the new school year, effective September 2026. I recently had the opportunity to attend the CXC conference and ministerial forum in Jamaica. This gave myself and the education officer assessment, Devine Gishard, an opportunity to engage very directly with CXC. We were able to share some of the concerns with the current CXC curriculum and structure, including assessment. We were also able to engage with a number of partners on the ground and interact with them, and we were able to get strong feedback on what's happening in other territories. We have created some very strong relationships, particularly with Barbados and Dominica, and we're going to be sharing some resources for the new school year, and I'll be happy to announce that when everything in relation to those resources is finalized. I also have the opportunity to join an education team for the Education Visit to Collier School District in Florida, which occurred from the 22nd to the 28th of March. A delegation of educators and education leaders from Anguilla participated in an educational study tour of Collier County School District aimed at strengthening professional capacity, promoting exchange of best practices, and supporting long-term education and reform. The focus was on a number of key areas, which included district-level administration, special education needs, technology integration, counseling and mental health, nutrition and meals programs, TVET, classroom instruction, early childhood education, English as a second language, and the teaching of reading. The delegation included officials from the Ministry of from the Ministry and the Education Department, school administrators, counselors, teachers, and officers with responsibility for literacy, student support, technology, and school meals. This trip was supported by the Richard Scholes Family Foundation and the Government of Anguilla. The visit will enhance individuals' professional practice, inform school improvement efforts, and contribute to a broader system-wide transformation. For the general public, those who want to hear more about this study tour, we're going to have an in-depth conversation tomorrow on Just the Facts. We are 3 members of that team that range from an early childhood educator education administrator, and a head of department at the Albina Lake Hodge Comprehensive School will be on Just the Facts, and they will have an opportunity to talk about the tour, the engagement, opportunities, and what we can expect to come out as a result of that tour. So I want to put on record my sincerest thanks to the Richard Schultz Foundation for supporting the educators to be able to take that trip. It was well supported, and everyone who attended had great reviews about that. So I'm very grateful for that as well. I recently met with the maintenance and grounds team in education. I had an opportunity to engage with them to understand how they work, how they operate, the resources that they are working with. One of the key things that we want to do for the new school year and beyond is to strengthen our maintenance and grounds team, make sure they have adequate resources. We want to ensure as well that schools for September 2026 open on time, and there are limited procurement delays. So as a result of that, I met with the management of the maintenance team as well, and we came up with a schedule of activities to ensure that the procurement process gets underway as soon as possible so that the work can begin immediately after school closes, so that there are no delays in August and we can open all schools on time this year. P.S. Bonnie Richardson Lake and Chief Education Officer Brent Romney will be, they left for St. Vincent today to attend the OECS Paul Governance Summit. Once they return, they will be able to give an update on how the summit has gone. The Festivals Commission has appointed a new CEO. They will officially make the announcement in short order, but I want to thank the Commission for the work that they've done and the application process that the rigorous application process that they would have undertaken to be able to appoint that person. The successful individual is Ms. Amber Woodley, who has a wealth of knowledge and experience in the area of culture, arts, festivals development generally in Anguilla. She certainly isn't any stranger to the area. She also serves as the committee chair for the Miss Anguilla pageant. The Commission's office will be located at the Lansombourg Cultural Center, and the space is currently being retrofitted. It is just waiting on the office furniture and is scheduled to be completed on April 30th. The Commission's business plan is expected to be laid before the House on April 28th, and the subvention will be released immediately after. Thank you very much.
So I'll start again. I'll start with tourism. Tourism in Anguilla is off to a strong and record-breaking 2026. According to the latest data from the Anguilla Statistics Department and Immigration Department, we recorded 29,325 visitor arrivals in January 2026. That represents a 24.5% increase over January of 2025, which is the highest number of arrivals ever recorded for any January in the last 34 years. This positive momentum continued into February. In February 2026, Anguilla welcomed 27,365 visitors. That's an increase of 18.5% over February of 2025. That too was the highest February on record since 1993. Even more encouraging is that this growth is being driven by both stay-over visitors and day trippers, showing strong demand across all segments of our tourism industry. What this tells us is clear that Anguilla is not only growing, but we are growing consistently and we are growing strategically. We are attracting the right type of visitor. These results are not by chance. They are the direct outcome of focused marketing, stronger partnerships, and deliberate positioning of Anguilla as a premier luxury destination. In recent progress, over the past week, the Anguilla Tourist Board has been actively on the ground in Canada, one of our key source markets. In Toronto, we participated in the Virtuosa on Tour, one of the most respected luxury travel platforms globally. We conducted over 80 one-on-one meetings with travel advisors, delivered presentations to more than 300 advisors, and strengthened valuable partnerships that directly influence travel decisions. Canada continues to be a high-value market, aligning well with Anguilla's premium tourism offerings, including our villas, resorts, culinary experiences, and wellness product. We're also looking to expand our presence in the United Kingdom. Our engagement in the United Kingdom also continues to deliver strong results. Through participation in Unite, Caribbean, and IMM UK, along with targeted media engagements, we have strengthened relationships with key travel trade partners and global media. These efforts ensure that Anguilla remains visible, competitive, and desirable in one of our most important international markets. Regarding global and media influencer strategy, we continue to invest in telling Anguilla's story to the world. Over the past period, we hosted top-tier journalists and influencers, including curated engagements in New York, where we showcase our culture, cuisine, and authentic island experiences. This is how we ensure Anguilla remains top of mind globally and continues to attract high-value travelers. In the yachting and marine sector growth, Anguilla continues to make significant strides in the luxury yachting and marine sector. At the Palm Beach International Boat Show, Anguilla was represented engaging directly with yacht companies, owners, captains, and investors. We also highlighted major developments such as the Port Namara, a transformative project that will further elevate Anguilla's position in the global yachting market. Upcoming highlights: new regional airlift, Anguilla to Tortola. We are excited about the launch of a new regional route by Trans Anguilla Airways. The route will be Anguilla to Tortola BVI. The launch date will be Friday, April 17th, 2026, and the frequency will be 3 times weekly. Flight time is approximately 45 minutes. These new routes significantly improve regional connectivity, making travel more seamless and creating new opportunities for both leisure and business travel without the need to transit through St. Martin. Importantly, this development also enhances mobility for Anguillians, providing easier access to the United States Virgin Islands by connecting through Tortola, where travelers can conveniently continue onward via ferry to their desired destination. With the ACE 2026, that's the Anguilla Culinary Experience, from May 13th to 17th, Anguilla will once again take center stage as the culinary capital of the Caribbean. The Anguilla Culinary Experience brings together internationally acclaimed chefs and a locally culinary talent to create world-class dining experiences across the island. Importantly, this event also supports training and development for young Anguillians, ensuring that tourism continues to create opportunities for our people. Within the cruise and yachting expansion, the CLIA engagement, the Anguilla Tourist Board will also participate in CLIA Cruise Week in Fort Lauderdale, alongside our partners in Dutch St. Martin. Together, we will promote our destinations as complementary experiences, focusing on cruise tourism development, yachting sector expansion, multi-destination and travel opportunities. This collaboration strengthens our regional competitiveness and global appeal. Sustainable tourism leadership, that is for the Belize Conference. Anguilla will be represented at the Caribbean Tourism Organizational's Sustainable Tourism Conference in Belize. Our focus will be advancing the blue economy, which is our marine resources, the green economy, which is sustainability and environmental protection, and the orange economy, culture and creative industries. I am also pleased to highlight that our Director of Tourism, Mr. Jamil Rochester, will serve as a member of the CTO Sustainable Tourism Committee, ensuring Anguilla plays a key role in shaping regional tourism policy. In closing on tourism, Anguilla is not standing still. We are moving forward with purpose. We are strengthening our global presence, expanding access, investing in our product, and positioning ourselves for long-term sustainable growth. Most importantly, we are ensuring that tourism continues to deliver real value for the people of Anguilla. I quickly turn to sports, and Jason will add some more to sports. And today, as our Premier would have mentioned, pay tribute to Carlton Pickering. Well, I knew Carlton Pickering for many years. For 26 years, I worked with him on KCN Diary Sports. So he will be missed, but his work continues. In fact, on the 25th of this month, for the Malcolm Marshall Cancer Fundraiser, which Malcolm Marshall was a former cricketer that I played with at Hampshire for over a 15-year period, played for Barbados, Natal, but also especially for the West Indies. And for the last 4 years, we've had a Malcolm Marshall Cancer Fundraiser, where funds would go towards the Anguilla Cancer Society and Anguilla Youth Cricket Development. And this year, Carlton Pickering will benefit from some of those funds, or the family of Carlton Pickering. Yesterday at the Webster's Park, for the first time, there was a 100 challenge, and the 100 is 100 balls, which is different to the 2020. Obviously, 100 balls, it's a case of 25 ball overs. It was to commemorate 100 years. That would have been the birth of, or the century of years that Albert Lake, who's passed in 2019, I believe, that was to commemorate his legacy. Anguilla played St. Martin. Anguilla scored 167. Masimba Bowen was the lead scorer for Anguilla with 51. St. Martin were bowled out for 93. So Anguilla won by 74 runs, and Waldemar Brooks got 3 wickets. So between them, they had a very good game. And also Delroy Carty have left Anguilla to go to Trinidad to train to be part of the Anguilla Commonwealth Games team. For the first time at the Commonwealth Games, Anguilla will have a track cyclist. So he will be in Trinidad for a while and then on to United States. The Commonwealth Games are in Glasgow, Scotland, from the 22nd of July until the 3rd of August. With that, I say thank you, and I pass over to my colleague, the Honorable Jason Bryan.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. It's a pleasure to report to you on youth, culture, and sports. I will start with the community centers. The community centers will now have full oversight by the Community Service Planners Unit. Prior, it was mainly focused on academic homework support. The new focus is to expand the position of the centers as a community hub that supports learning, family strengthening, social engagement, and wider community development. Our first activity after this new focus began was the Easter camp / activities to keep the children active and engaged. Island Harbor Community Center had an attendance of 21 children. Hope Center had an attendance of 30 children. Blowing Point Community Development Center had an attendance of 18 children. And West End Community Development Center had an attendance of 15 children. The National Youth Ambassadors Corps has submitted their selected 2 youth that will represent us at as CARICOM Youth Ambassadors. They are Taisha Emmanuel and Kasim Thompson for the term of 2026-2028. The Anguilla National Youth Council have been participating in strategic planning and strengthening partnership with the schools and youth organizations. The president of ANYC, Mr. Amani Richardson, will be attending the Second Council of Youth and Sports Conference in Antigua and Barbuda on June 8th and 9th, along with Mrs. Hyacinth Bradley and myself. Youth Escape, we are restructuring the Youth Escape for it to be more capacity building. The culture team are in discussion with the stakeholders to offer 3 workshops in culinary, music, and storytelling. I will move on to sports. And as Mr. Khanna mentioned, Mr. Delroy Carty, who will be representing us as the first Anguillian in the Commonwealth Games 2026 in the field of track cyclists. Would like to congratulate him and ask us to encourage him to support him while he prepares to represent us at the Commonwealth Games 2026. The Jamita Webster bicycle race will take place on Sunday, 26th April in Island Harbor at 9 a.m. Also, yesterday, Sunday, the Cycling Association celebrated the roundabout to roundabout race sponsored by Tropical Distributors. They had a total of 57 cyclists, 31 seniors, and 26 youth. Teams were from St. Martin, Guadeloupe, and Anguilla, the hosting country. The Blowing Point basketball court, the steel frame is on island. The team received the anchor dimensions from the manufacturer 2 weeks ago. So the Department of Sports is working with MICU to prepare the documents for the procurement for labor. Once that has advanced, then the 2 technicians that will oversee the project from B7 Global will be on island to progress the work. We did a site visit on Friday to the grounds behind Campus A, east of the current volleyball court at James Ronald Webster Park. Minister Kyle Hodge and his team from Planning and Lands joined our team from sports, our PS, Kareem Hodge, Mr. Kareem Hodge, and the president of Volleyball Association, Mr. Jason Libert. The purpose of this visit was to evaluate the land for the development of 2 beach volleyball courts. Beach volleyball has been growing in popularity on island, and they do not have a proper place or infrastructure to practice and to prepare to compete. So the next steps, action plan will be the Volleyball Association will liaise with the Department of Sports to submit the application to planning. Softball, starting this week, Friday 17th until Sunday 19th of April, begins a softball male tournament, slow pitch, not modified, between Tortola, St. Martin, Antigua, and the 2 local Anguilla teams. Pitch in Baseball Foundation, led by Vinay Rajadyaksha, young aspiring baseball player in Miami, and his father, Dr. Amar Rajadyaksha, visited our island and donated essential baseball equipment for our youth of a total of 250 pieces, including helmets, bats, gloves, full set of catcher's gear, and practice uniforms. Through the partnership that they have with New Balance Baseball and Perfect Game, they will also receive brand new baseball cleats and baseball bags. We also had a meeting with them, the Minister of Sports, Minister Khanna, and myself to learn more about them and discuss future baseball involvement. We would like to place on record our gratitude to Pitch in Baseball and look forward to more. That will be my updates. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and we will now open the floor for questions.
Good afternoon, Yamke Brooks from Reading Anguilla. Before we continue, I'd also like to extend my condolences to the family of Mr. Pickering and the entire Casian family. He'll be missed. His his drive to disseminate information, to ask hard questions, certainly will be missed. As a colleague also, he will be missed. He will be missed. I see that y'all have
Thank you.
brought some flowers in remembrance of him.
Yes.
As part of the media corps here, I would like to thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
My first question is in relation to the finances. You would have mentioned that our revenue so far has been in excess. We have overperformed by 20 million, around
Yes,
$20
that's
million.
correct. Yes.
And I know that with the geopolitical situation and the increase in prices, government has taken some measures to ease the burden on the people. With the extra 20 million, I know some persons will be wondering why not extend the relief even more, to have more relief.
Yes.
How do you plan to use this extra 20 million, and what else can be done to ease the burden?
Right. So the 3 months is not, we're not suggesting that at the 3 months everything comes to an end. The reason why we use 3 months is because, as you know, the situation is volatile. And so we want to continue to pay keen attention to what's happening so that at the 3-month mark, we'll be revisiting and seeing, the conditions. Have the conditions improved? Have they gotten worse? And then assess from there. And so we also want to be fiscally responsible, meaning that we want to ensure that the measures that we take are prudent financially, so that when we roll out the relief, we are catering for the people, taking care of the people of Anguilla, and at the same time are mindful as to the type of expenditure that we're putting forward in this exercise. But it's something that we have been all along. Our main focus has been to put people first, to cater for the Anguillan people, and so certainly with this first rollout, that's the intent, and we will continue to pay keen attention. So it doesn't mean that it's coming to an end at the end of the 3 months. It means that we're looking at it and seeing how we address it from there.
Yes. I know that there's been also calls for the permanent removal. You said that it's not definite at the end of the 3 months. How are considerations being given to this? Any consultations so far in the possible entire removal of paying duties on CIF?
Yeah, so actually through the Customs Department, we've reached out. The Controller of Customs has reached out to the IMF, I believe, to be able to provide us with an assessment in terms of what that would look like. And so any step that we take, we want to be guided by knowledge, by information, by an assessment as to whether or not taking that step is something feasible. At the end of the day, we all have to be reminded that the majority of our tax revenue, our tax base, comes through customs. And so when we decrease, we have to ensure that we have a sustainable revenue that's coming in. And so for now, God has granted us the domain name to be able to receive the type of revenue. We want to be careful in terms of how we utilize those funds. The intent is to set up a sovereign wealth fund as well, to be able to ensure that for generations to come, our future generations will be able to benefit from the revenue that we're now receiving. But we also want to be careful in today's context that we don't take advantage and misuse those funds.
Yes. NCBA is currently celebrating 10 years. As far as I'm concerned, it is still wholly owned by the government of Anguilla. I know some time ago there were plans to set up a divestment committee to see how the bank could be probably sold. What can you give us an update on this?
Yes, so we did meet some weeks ago with the investment committee through the NCBA, and so it's a collaboration between certain the directors on the board as well as members of government. So we have agreed to reestablish that committee to look at how the government can sell the shares, and whether or not we want to look at selling it to one entity. I think the government's preference is to sell at least a portion of it first to our local population. And so that is the mandate that we've given to the board and to the investment committee once it's properly structured. We have not had a first meeting in relation to that as yet, but we will be looking at that direction.
Yes. If you know, how much is the bank currently worth?
I don't know.
Okay.
In fact, I think that in order to conduct a share, a sale of shares, that will have to be done. There's an entire exercise that will have to be undertaken in order to move forward.
Yes. I know that you mentioned tomorrow there'll be House of Assembly
Yes.
where you will be laying the legislative agenda. I know you don't have to go into too much detail, but can you give us some of the high points for this legislative year?
So all of the ministries have their key areas. One key area for the Ministry of Finance, and I'll speak about that, is revisiting the Procurement Act. And I think that it is generally felt across ministries, that there needs to be a revision to the act. It may be too structured in a way that is prohibitive. And so there is a draft that's already been prepared, and so we're looking at that, and we're hoping that during this year, we'll be able to get that to the House of Assembly.
Any questions?
Good afternoon. I'm Elkin Richardson, independent journalist. I too would like to echo the sentiments of my colleague on the passing of Mr. Pickering, and may his soul rest in peace. A question to the Premier. The government of Angola has reported that the .ai is doing very well, performing above schedule. And just yesterday, a prominent Angolan said to me, he would like me to ask the government of Angola, why don't they consider using some of the .ai money to roll out the national insurance scheme?
Yeah, so the National Health Insurance Scheme actually falls under the portfolio of the Ministry of Health. It is something that we're keen to look at. Unfortunately, the Honorable Senior Ministerial Assistant is not here at this press conference, and so what I will do is I will take that back so that he can respond accordingly.
This might come like a little ticklish, but I will still have to ask it since that it came from the public. The last time you were here, Premier, I did raise the issue regarding the monies that were paid to the proprietors of ABC Supply regarding the transaction between them and the government of the day. And your answer was that you didn't know the amount of monies that he received.
I could not recall the exact amount of money.
Okay, you couldn't recall. In further discussions and investigation, it would appear to me that a non-disclosure agreement between the government of Angola and the proprietors of ABC was met, and as a result of that, the government would not be in a position to see how much money the business got from this transaction. You want to speak to that?
Sure, that may be correct. In most settlement agreements, especially those before the court, the parties will enter into a confidentiality provision. It's standard in most settlement agreements. And so certainly in this case, if the parties agree to insert such a provision, then that's what it is.
No, I didn't get that. Sorry.
A confidentiality agreement
Yes.
is typical in many settlement agreements, especially those that have come out of a court decision. And so if it is that the settlement agreement entered into between the government of Angola and ABC included a confidentiality provision, then yes, that would preclude disclosing the contents of the settlement agreement to the public.
So was there a confidentiality agreement entered into?
I cannot recall. I don't have the settlement agreement in front of me, but it could be.
And the monies that were paid came from the government's coffers,
That is correct.
essentially the people's money.
That is correct.
So it's sort of strange that in such a case where the people's money is concerned, that type of agreement or arrangement should have been entered into. That sounds
Yeah.
very strange.
So if you would recall that the genesis of the court case had to do with a repayment by the government of Angola based on the 9% and the 13% that was implemented. And so the court case that ABC brought was that these monies were due from the government of Angola. because there was an agreement that the 9% would be reimbursed to ABC. So that was the genesis of the court action. So as a result of that, the government, the court case that came out, and I think it's on the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court website, persons are free to go and read it, where the court may have made a determination that the parties ought to go back and discuss the amount of monies that would be due to ABC as a result of that.
Okay, I want to direct a question to Minister Kyle Hodge. Mr. Hodge, you mentioned your recent trip to Abuja in Nigeria. Could you tell the public the cost that were borne by the people of Angola for that trip?
So we were invited by the Aquarian Consult. That's an entity in Abuja, Nigeria, in collaboration with the St. Kitts and Nevis government. I had a personal invitation from the Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Samal Duggins, and my trip and the trip of the farmer was complimentary, was paid for by Aquarium Consult. So those are the folks that were putting on the investment summit. They paid for the flight, which was a direct charter, and they also paid for the hotel stay in Nigeria for both myself and Mr. Smith. The cost of the technocrat was paid for by the government of Angola. I don't have the exact figure right now, but as it relates to covering payments for the trip, that is exactly how it went. So you can say 2/3 of our cost was covered, not from the treasury of Angola.
Thank you. On to water, you mentioned the situation relating to water. I believe the government started having it under control, but for over 5 weeks now, there has been a serious problem.
Serious?
Problem relating to water supply. And at one of the press conferences, I did ask you whether or not you were aware of how much gallons of water is pumped from Crocus Bay to the plant, the storage up on the hill, and whether or not the government of Angola is getting the water and is paying for the water. And now I am hearing that there seems to be a big problem relating to water supply.
Well, I didn't say a big problem, but there are leaks. You're saying that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, because
Okay,
that-
you just said you're hearing.
No,
so
oh, sorry. Based on my investigation, there's a big problem.
Okay.
Based on my investigation, there's a big problem because in some areas it isn't getting any water. So I am to ask you, sir, what is the reason behind this whole thing?
That's a very open question. What is the reason behind what whole thing?
Why are we not getting any water?
Okay, so water is just distributed throughout Anguilla from a gravity-fed system in Crocus Hill. If the main tank that distributes water both to the eastern end and the western end isn't filled to a certain capacity, then pressure is affected. You know, if the tank which receives water from both TSG and 7 Seas at the same time, if those production facilities aren't working perfectly, then the level at which the tank is opened at in the morning, you know, if that level isn't at least up to 16 or 18 feet in the tank, then we will have distribution problems throughout the day. Recently, the TSG plant would have had some issues with a sensor. The TSG plant is meant to operate 24/7, but it has been operating only 8 hours per day. That sensor was replaced, and now we're replacing a cable tomorrow. And that TSG plant should be back up and running 24/7 middle of this week. So there are many things that can affect the distribution and supply of water on a daily or weekly basis. It can be a leak that just pop up during the day. As it relates to the transmission line from Crocus Bay, it developed some leaks over the past few weeks in several places, and it was determined by both engineers that this is a line that perhaps we should look to replace. As we are replacing the distribution lines, we should also look at the transmission line as well, because that is a very vital line as it relates to ensuring that the tank is filled to a certain level to distribute the next day.
So as it stands right now, the persons who are being affected will just have to sit by and wait.
Well, we struggle on a daily basis to maintain water in the lines. It's not an easy task. When we got into office in 2025, there was only one train performing, one train at the TSG plant producing water. There were only 3 wells in the valley bottom functioning. Today, we have upwards of 5 wells functioning. And today, we have 3 trains working. My question to you is, were you here with the last administration asking these same questions? Or you just discovered that water is a problem?
Move on to my next question.
Thank you, sir.
Because you would very well be aware that I have been talking about water for years, whether this administration or the other administration, because I'm affected by it. But I would like to stay here now, though, that I did ask the question to you, and I believe I asked it just a few minutes ago, whether or not the plant at Crocus Bay is producing the amount of water that was agreed to be produced, and whether or not they are paying for it. Because the government, if they are supposed to produce 18 million, 20 million gallons of water a day, and they're paying for the 20 million, and they're not producing the water, then we are at a loss here. I'm not speaking about the government, I'm talking about we the people.
According to the data sheets, they are producing the required amount that they're supposed to be, according to the data sheets.
Wow, that's interesting.
I think we're in a position where
That's interesting.
we need to produce more, but per contract, they are meeting the gallons per day. I'm looking forward to the day where water is 24/7. That will require us fixing the leaks, increasing our production capacity, because I strongly believe we should not be using the water that is just produced. We should be in a position where we have at least 2 million gallons of water stored. That is the position I want to see water get to. And I am, that is our focus going forward.
I see. I know Mr. Arul Carrigan-Kana didn't mention anything about health. I know Mr. Rogers is the senior advisor for health, but I was wondering whether or not you would have anything to report relating to health, because there are a number of issues relating to health.
I can report that the morgue was open last week. I can report that as we go forward, there's a lot of work being done. I know the Honorable Evans Bentley Rogers himself is taking it upon himself to find avenues of assisting the people of Anguilla without government funding. So I think he's, and I've said it over and over again, with his experience and with his desire, I'm quite happy to have him on board with health.
Thank you. Mr. Bryan, you mentioned the basketball court in Blowing Point, that the steel frame is on island, and I guess it would be erected shortly. And my other question now will be in relation to the main basketball court in the valley. Where are we on this one as a government?
Mr. Just now, you're referring to the basketball court adjacent to Ashley's?
No. The basketball court is supposed to be built just behind Lansing Bowl Cultural Center.
Great, thank you for the question. Currently, we have not set specific plans to it, but once we have that set in line, we will be reporting to the general public.
And you want to share anything regarding the one at Island Harbor? I know there were some issues with that too. So the people probably will want to know what is the position regarding the basketball court in Island Harbor.
Correct. So our Department of Sports, we have discussions to outline exactly the plans for the area. As you know, it's a flood zone, and we have to be very strategic as to what's going to be placed there and if it's feasible to use the area there. And then we will approach the community to let them know what has been discussed and the plans going forward.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, Madam Premier, while Mr. Richardson was asking about the funds paid back to ABC, a member of the public inquired with me as to the other two businesses that were paid back. If you can list the names of them, please.
You mean under the previous administration?
Yeah, they just want to know the.
I can't recall.
Okay. Miss Minister of Education. You said there was a meeting recently with CXC to discuss some of the concerns that you all have about the assessments, the current assessment methods. Can you highlight some of the concerns that were expressed?
Just generally how SBAs are done. Traditionally, you know that SBAs are done here remotely, so ensuring that SBAs remain an effective assessment with the use of AI. You know, there are a number of opportunities for persons to use those AI tools to do SBAs, thus watering down the actual quality of the assessment. So that was something that was expressed. There is an AI tool as well that is recommended by CXC to be used to determine whether AI has been used to do the assessment. And one of the challenges that we had with that tool is that if the grammar sentence structure is strong and well written, it would say 100% AI used. If you dumb the language down a bit, it would then give you a lower percentage of use. So it obviously tells you that there's a challenge in it. So persons that write very well and who are not using AI, pretty much the system is telling you that they are using AI. And teachers have tested it out as well. And so those are concerns that have been raised, both for the business subjects as well as the math. Generally as well, just in terms of overall how CXC is assessed, you know, we continue to want to make sure that it is fit for purpose at every level. So those were some of the concerns that were shared as well. And one of the things that we think is good from CXC perspective is that CXC is currently piloting how math is done. And so they're giving you an opportunity to break up your math. So you would do math in sections. So you'd have an opportunity to do a first portion of it. If you're able to successfully get that, you can do a second portion. And once you've completed all of the sections of it, you can get the math assessment. So that is something that's new that we are piloting in our school as well at 3 of our testing sites on Anguilla. That, in our view, is going to help with the math, the ability to do math. So you don't have to cram everything one time. You can take it in sections. And so we'll see how that is being piloted. But those are some of the concerns that have been expressed with CXC particularly.
If you recall up in mind, which AI tool, detection tool was being referenced?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's actually 3 different tools that were recommended. So CXC recommends about 3 different tools, and you're having the same issue with the 3 tools.
Okay. Mr. Vanderpool, you would have mentioned that there will be an upcoming AI conference with Identity Digital and persons from the ministry. Can you tell us how much persons will be coming in to participate in the conference?
Thanks for the question. Don't want to say, I believe it's in the ballpark of about in the 30s. but I can't give the exact figure at this time. I believe it's in the 30s.
Yes. And in relation to Bermuda, you would have mentioned that they'll be looking to restart operations for the upcoming tourist season, I guess, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. How do they? Was this fall season just a trial, or is it just that they plan to stop for the season, just with a season instead of throughout the year?
Oh no, so this was all the plan all along. When I would have announced the flights in December, the intent was to have them run from December until the end of April, and then after that have a review to see how the next season could look at, with the potential of discussing even the possibility of going year round and the viability of such. So this is where we're currently at now in terms of the assessment phase. I can't at this time say that next year it will be year-round, but what I can say is based on our discussions, they are keen to resume operations next winter, and it's likely that next year's season will be extended beyond April.
On the issue for NLIC, you would have mentioned that the loan has been formalized, the loan agreement with the CDB.
Yes, the contract has been signed by both parties as of April 1st.
Yes. How much does government's current financial standing had to play in that, if any? Because members of opposition are saying that only because of the high financial standing of government finances that the loan was been able to be signed.
That is completely incorrect. The ANGLEC was awarded the loan in CDB based on the own merit of the companies, based on their financial statements. Government's financial standing, whether good, bad, or in between, has nothing to do with that process. In fact, we won't engage on that level.
Yes. Mr. Richardson? Yes. You spoke about a number of the food security measures that are being put in place for poultry, animal farming, agriculture. How much has it been quantified how much these measures are going to reduce our food import bill?
Sorry, repeat your question.
Has it been quantified how much these food security measures been put in place by the Ministry of Natural Resources? Well, I'm going to reduce our food imports. By how much?
Thanks for the question. Well, no, it has not really been, but we know from the stats when we look at the amount of things that are imported. So if we are looking at growing different crops, there's a way that we could actually cut into the import bill with the amount of foods that are imported or the amount of vegetables that are imported. So the more we could grow, the more we could cut into that.
Mr. Bryan? And Mr. Connor, really, for sports. How are plans developing for Webster's Park?
In what sense? For the
Redeveloping.
redevelopment? Well, when we talk about redevelopment, I think the focus has been on the Players Pavilion. Yeah, so plans are in place for the development of the Players Pavilion. It would be on the southern side of the park instead of the northern side, because there's much more room there for depth regarding a pavilion or stands for a crowd.
So in practical terms, what would that mean for cricket here?
What does it mean? Well, there's a lot of work to be done about cricket. Cricket is still our sport. A team played yesterday, and Anguilla played against the St. Martin team and won. A number of persons turned out. We have Jamar Hamilton, who was the best batsman for the Leewards last year. He's been consistent. We've also had Dimitri Adams, who is a new player on the Leeward squad. Casey Carter, even though out of St. Martin, has played for Anguilla from the age of 13. And we've got a tradition here of being a very good team. We also show that from the 90s with Shaka Hodge, Omari, Chesney, Kelbert, and the likes, they all went on to play for the West Indies at different levels. So I think in recent times, cricket has suffered a bit. And it suffered because it was not implemented in the schools. That program was not carried on. So, and that is something that we going to make happen. At the end of this month, there will be a schools tournament, primary schools tournament, because the youngsters want to play. You give them any sport, they will play it. And then you find out the ones who've got the real desire to become better. So from the sports department, we will ensure that that happens. The challenge is that I think in Anguilla these days, we expect a lot from associations. We are fortunate if we have association members who are dedicated to the sport. But I think as a government, we realize that we, especially within the sports department, or those who are paid by government, needs to work more to ensure that the sports in Anguilla survives.
I guess this question will be directed to Mr. Vanderpool or Mr. Connor. Mention was made of Bermuda Air as relates to continuation of flights into Anguilla. And I know at the beginning, not I know, I was told, I heard at the beginning that the government of Anguilla would have been paying or subsidizing some of the seats.
We would have been entered into a risk-sharing agreement, yes, for the 20 seats that potentially would have been sellable on each flight, covering at most half of the cost, while they would have absorbed the loss of the other half if the seats were indeed not able to be sold.
Right. So the question now, you have an idea as to how much money the government would have paid out to Bermuda Air as relates to the non-fulfillment of seats, if that's the right term to use?
Well, a comprehensive analysis will be made to the people of Anguilla in time to come. As I would have mentioned, the last flight for this season, this instance, is on April 25th, after which we'll be doing a comprehensive return on investment, so that not only do we focus on what the government might have invested or share the loss of risk, but we also appreciate the impact or the extent of the economic impact and growth that was achieved by the people of Anguilla by the introduction of these flights.
Thank you. My last question. I know the government of Anguilla is busy with the expansion of the Clayton J. Lloyd International Airport runway, and there have been ongoing talks between landowners and other persons relative to land. In my investigations, I have found out that the government has difficulty in providing lands for people in exchange. So most likely the government will have to either pay them out completely or use whatever means there is to ensure that these persons are compensated properly. I am to go back now to something that had been near and dear to my heart, maybe from the time some of you all were in school. That's a very long time. There seems to be a problem that had existed for years relating to land exchange between business owners and the government and the governments over Anguilla over the period of time. So I think that area may need to be explored to see where the people of Anguilla was exploited, and in whatever way possible, either seek either to get the lands back or get the people of Anguilla properly compensated in order that the government of Anguilla will have whether lands to exchange or monies to pay for exchange of lands.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. We'll take on board your suggestions.
Very well. That's it.
Okay, thank you. I think that brings us to the end of this press conference. And I want to thank those of you who are here in person and those of you who have joined us via social media and radio. Yeah, and so thank you all. Have a wonderful Monday and a productive week.